taken I've taken an examination many years ago and passed it and qualified. I've been an enrolled agent for almost over 50 years. I've been a CASA for probably 4. What brought this to my attention is I have a CASA family that has 3 children that they just took custody of in April. The youngest is 2, the eldest is not yet 6. And they would qualify for this tax credit, and it occurred to me that they had no idea that it was out there. So now let me explain to you what the tax credit is. For 2021, as the law is currently written, the child tax credit increases to $3,600 for any child who is under the age of 6 as of 12/31/21, and $3,000 for any child under the age of 18 as of 12/31/21. Beginning in July, half of that tax credit is refundable on a monthly basis to the parents. So in the particular case, in the family I had, they could get literally $1,800 a month, July, August, September, October, November, December, and they could use the money. So basically half of the credit is refundable this year. Now, if we put together a tax return to qualify for this right now, it isn't going to happen in July. I mean, the IRS is so backed up because of COVID, it's going to take them a month or 2. It may not be till September, but you'll get caught up. The point is it's an important situation to take advantage of, because most people with small children need the money. I mean, when my children were young, we always needed the money. So it's one of those situations that, in my case, it related to a family that I was dealing with, and it was very important to get a situation where they could get additional funds to help them with these 3 children. This process is very simple, but to the extent that anybody is uncomfortable or confused, contact Della, get the paperwork to her. She'll know exactly what paperwork you need to get, and I will do it for you on a pro bono basis. Basically, this qualifies for any foster parent who took custody of children in 2020 or 2021 and did not claim them on their 2020 tax return. If you took custody of the children late in the year, your tax professional may have said you didn't have custody of them long enough to qualify to claim them on your 2020 tax return. If you claim them on your 2020 tax return, the service will pick it up, bring it on, and the funds will go out on a monthly basis beginning in July. But this is for people who did not get custody until late in 2020 or early in 2021. And essentially what you have to do is get a copy of the tax return you filed for 2020. And also you want to get a copy of the placement letter, because you want to include that along with the tax return, because first of all, the child credit has been badly abused in the system. So the IRS is a little wary of it. So you want to have that placement letter to solidify and back up your claim of this refund that you're entitled to. Then what you want to do is, if you've got your 2021 tax return, you're going to go down to the section on dependents, and it's on the front page of the 1040. It's before you get to the numbered section where you put in your items, and there's a place in there for where you list your dependents. Right below that, with your name, address, you want to put the child's name, first name, last name, and beside that you want to put in their date of birth. You want to put their social security number. You get the date of birth and social security number off your placement letter. On column 4, you want to check the box. And then the most important thing you want to do is you want to write at the top of the return, above where it says 10/40/2020, and along the bottom, in large bold letters, you want to write Revenue Procedure 2021-24. Because what that does is that alerts person at the Internal Revenue who's processing this that this is an unusual situation. It's called a RevProc, but it's Revenue Procedure 2021-24. And then all you do is mail it off to the Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Kansas City, Missouri, 6964999-0002. And possibly in August, but almost certainly by September, you'll begin to get those credits. But they need to have the child's name, they need to have the date of birth, they need to have the social security number, they need to have the box in column 4 checked. You need to have the RevProc on there, number, to tell them why you're doing this, and then mail it off. Theoretically, you can do this electronically, but the problem is most tax software don't allow you to write additional things onto the return. And so consequently, they're not going to know that it's Revenue Procedure 2021-24, and they're going to put it aside because it looks like something you have to review and there's a problem with it. The RevProc is important, and the placement letter is important because that supports your position as to why you're claiming these children all of a sudden out of the blue. And it's a legal document, and what I would do if I was doing it is I would highlight with a highlighting marker the child's name, the child's date of birth, and the child's social security number on that placement letter. And for the situation of a foster parent who did not have to file a tax return, and there are quite a few of these. I mean, there are quite a few grandparents who are taking care of their grandchildren or foster children who, because of their limited income, don't have to file a tax return. Get the information to me. I'll need your name, address, date of birth, social security number, copy of the placement letter, and I will prepare it for you. That one gets a little complicated if you've never had one before. It gets into putting zeros on varying lines, and for the average individual, they're very concerned about dealing with the IRS. Let me tell you one thing right now off the top of the head. The Internal Revenue Service is not as tough as they would like to have you believe, but they got one heck of a good PR department. So once again, if you're at all concerned, at all uncomfortable with this, get a hold of Della. I'll do it for you on a pro bono basis, but it's not complicated. That's all there really is to it.
Okay, Fred, we do have a question, and you may have already answered it in the chat box. Just so you folks know, I did put my name and email as well as Nicole's name and email in the chat box. Also, you can, if you don't write it down, you can go to enotacasa.org and find it there, or you can just reply to the, any of your supervisors can get a hold of us, okay? But Fred, here is the question from Kathy. We had our children placed with us last September. We could not claim them on last year's tax. However, we still have them and plan to claim them this year. Are we eligible for these payments? And if so, how can we claim them?
Once again, get a hold of your 2020 tax return that you did where you didn't claim them. Enter their first name, last name, and put in there the date of birth, the social security number. It says relationship to you, be foster. Check box 4, write RevProc 2021-24 on the top and the bottom, and mail it off to Kansas City. That's all you need to do.
Okay, and then we had a message. Is there a way to post the address and what he said we needed to do? Well, what I've done, we are recording this for you, and I'll be glad to forward this out to everyone who is on the meeting. If you'll just put your email in the chat box, we'll make sure you get the recording. Also, simply just email us and we will get you in contact with Fred and he will help you. I mean, this is, let me tell you what Fred does, it costs money, and the fact that he is willing to volunteer his time pro bono is a huge thing. So if I were you, I would take advantage of that. He's been very, very generous with us. Also, Fred, another question from Aaron. Are there any income limits?
There are income limits, but you're talking about an adjusted gross income of $150,000 for a family. You know, I rarely see foster families that are outside of the income limit. I have one foster family that probably is, but they're an exception.
Okay, and that's the adjusted gross
That's
income.
adjusted gross
Yeah.
income.
Okay, so just from Mary, just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, if they came in in 2020, we didn't have them for 6 months, we can do this?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, I'm getting some great emails here, you guys. Thanks for those.
That's
But
why you want to. That's why you want to include the placement letter, because that supports your claim.
Okay, placement letter, you guys don't forget that. Tori had a question. We had a couple of people say, thank you so much, Fred, for this. Tori said, we had a child from September 2020 and she went home a few weeks ago. Would we still qualify for this since she is not in our home anymore?
The answer there is no. From my
Okay.
understanding, you would not.
Okay. Okay, Tori, I hope you heard that. Okay, okay, this is from Sarah. Just to make sure, I know this language can be very confusing for those of us who don't deal with it every day. So thank you for your patience, Fred. And I get Sarah, just to be clear. Okay, just to make sure I heard you correctly. We had our kids for...
You haven't been listening.
Okay, just to make sure I heard you correctly. We had our kids for 3 years. We claimed them on our 2020 at $2,000 a piece already. Will the credit automatically be applied for us? We don't need to do anything, correct?
Yes, it will apply for you because the credit, what you're getting, the credit has nothing to do with 2020. They're refunding you half of the refundable tax credit for 2021.
Okay. All right, Sarah, I hope that answered your question. I've got to keep putting your emails in there and we'll make sure you get this recording. From Lanny, sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Okay, Lanny says, our foster child came in January of 2021, so we would wait until next year's filing, right?
Well, you can wait till next year's filing, but if you want to get half of it this year, once again, make a copy of your front page of your 1040. Put the child under dependents, put the child's first name, last name, date of birth, social security number, relationship would be foster, checkbox 4, Rev Proc 2021-24 at the top, at the bottom, and mail it off to Kansas City.
So even though the child came in at the first of this year, that's great.
That's what got me started on this. I have a family with 3 children under the age of 7 who took custody in April.
Okay.
They qualify.
Okay. That's great. I mean, that is fantastic. I'm so glad you're providing this information. I was trying to explain it to some foster families, and finally I said, okay, wait. Like, can we just hear it from the horse's mouth? So Fred was so generous to come in. Okay, I've got another question from Tori. What is the latest date a child can come into your care this year and still receive this credit?
Really, the latest date is going to be after July 1st. Because after July 1st, by the end of the year, you will not have had them in your house for 6 months.
Okay, July 1st. Okay. All right. Be sure you're putting your emails in there if you want me to send you this recording. And also we'll include our emails in there and anything else Fred wants us to.
Now keep in mind that these regulations, with all the legislation that is currently pending before Congress, it will not be eliminated. It could be expanded. But what's Congress going to do with the legislation before them? Who knows?
Right. Okay. All right. Tiffany says, hi, sorry if I've missed it, but I've had my kids for 3 years. Thank you, Tiffany. And never seen their social security cards or numbers. How do I get those?
You get those from DFACS. DFACS has those. In
Yes.
fact, if you went back to your original placement letter, it should have been on there.
Okay, and if you have trouble, if you have a CASA, your CASA can help you with that, or your case manager should be able to help you with that as well. Kathy says, cannot thank y'all enough. We've been trying so hard to find info on this and have not been able to. Thank you, Fred. Another question, what if the parents claimed them last year?
Well, if you had them in your custody for more than 6 months last year, your tax professionals, more than likely the parents are going to get disallowed. I mean, you always have the problem of you never can control what the parents are likely to do. The question is did you have the children in your home for 6 months or longer at the end of the calendar year? If the parents claim, they're probably going to have their claim disallowed, because quite honestly, you as foster parent have custody of that child.
Okay. All right. Tom asked, if we've already filed our taxes months ago, which a lot of us have, and received our refund already, how do we do this? Would we be filing an addendum?
No, once again, what you're going to do is you're going to make a copy of the front page, actually both pages of your 1040, because you want to sign the 1040. Once again, on the section where it says dependents, you're going to put the child's first name, last name, and pencil in date of birth, social security number, relationship to you as foster, check the box, and then Rev Proc 2021-24 across the top and the bottom in as bold letters as you can make it. Sign it, send it off to Kansas City.
Okay. All right. And Tiffany said thank you for answering her question earlier. And Kathy, I'm trying to remember your question. You said, no, we did not, and they claimed them. Trying to see, that was about the question. Oh, Kathy, I can't remember. Let's see. The birth parents had claimed them, so they didn't claim them. So I guess can they go back and claim them then?
I would get a hold of your tax professional in this case and amend that return. If you had them in your home for longer than 6 months, you had custody under the law. You had custody.
Okay. And let us know how we can help you, Kathy. Can you say the address in KC again?
It's Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, Kansas City, Missouri, 64999-0002.
All right.
I will leave that with Della, so if you have any questions, get a hold of her.
Okay. All right. All right. Nicole, would you be able to put that address in the chat box? Love to have Fred's info. We need his help. Kathy says, we need you, Fred. Okay.
Can you say that address super duper slow so I can type it into the box?
Department of the Treasury.
Bless us all. We're probably all doing this remotely and on our phones and iPads.
Okay.
Internal Revenue Service.
Okay. Hold on. Let me do the, it's not letting me change this. Okay.
Kansas City,
Kansas City, Missouri, correct?
right? 64999 dash
69999. 3 9s, Fred?
39 dash 000 3 zeros and a 2.
Okay.
but the two most important things that you don't normally put on a tax return is Rev Proc 2021-24 and the placement letter.
Can you say that second? You said Rev.
Rev, R-E-V, first acronym, PROC 2021-24. What that does is it alerts the person who's processing it that this is pursuant to a revenue procedure, and they can look it up immediately and determine that, oh, hey, this qualifies.
Okay.
And the placement letter is important because it explains why something out of the ordinary is happening.
Okay, and I put that on there. Be sure to include the placement letter. All right.
And if you lost your placement letter, you should be able to get a copy from DFAX.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure I've got all of these questions asked. Be sure to put your email in there if you want a copy of the recording, which would also give you the chat box information again. And we'll get that sent out to you. I certainly don't want to rush everybody. I know if you're fostering children, you've got plenty to do. And as CASAs, I'll give you time to type any other questions or even just unmute yourself and chime in. But we just are so grateful for what you guys do. We, as CASAs, I know Fred and I and Nicole feel the same way. The work that you guys do is just phenomenal. You really make such a difference in these children's lives, and we want to do whatever we can to help you. So please do not, don't hesitate to contact us. Let's see, is there a street address or putting Department of Treasury, IRS, and city and zip enough?
All you need is the city and zip, because that's what happens. And when it gets to Kansas City, it's going into a lockbox. It never leaves the post office. They pick it up from the post office.
Yeah, it's its own kind of thing. It's its own box. Okay. Tom said, thank you. All right. And any other final thought? We'll stay on for a few minutes. So if anybody does need to, ask a question, and they don't want to they feel like they need a little more time, we'll be glad to stay on. But Fred, is there anything else you want to leave with them?
The other thing would be for all the CASAs, and that is, you're all familiar with the foster parents you deal with, and you've probably got a pretty good idea if you have any that are not regularly filing tax returns because of in most cases, because they're elderly. They're on Social Security, fixed income. They're not generating enough income. They didn't file a tax return for 2020. Get their names, addresses, birth dates, Social Security numbers, get it to me, and I'll get them fixed up.
Okay.
I'll need a copy of the placement letter that has the children's names, Social Security numbers, and dates of birth. Because if you haven't filed a tax return, it's not complicated, but for the average individual, if you're not filing a tax return, the last thing you want to do is try to figure out what to do with one.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I know a lot of you are probably members on the Facebook group, Georgia Foster and Adoptive Parent Group. If you are not, I recommend that. Again, that's Georgia Foster and Adoptive Parent Group. You may just want to put some of this info out there and say, hey, you guys, make sure you take advantage of this tax credit. Help some of our other foster families.
You're going to get this tax credit in any event next year, but quite honestly, if you can get half of it this year on a monthly basis starting in July, I suspect you could probably use the money.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Well, Fred, I just want to thank you so much. Continue to type your questions in or remain on if you have any other questions for Fred. We'll stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes just in case. But again, I really appreciate you, Fred, taking your time out of your busy schedule. I know you have a job and you're an amazing CASA on top of all of that, and we really appreciate you. So thank you again, Fred, so very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Like I said, this is because I've got a family that took custody of 3 children under the age of 6 in April. They need the money.
Yeah. And Rhonda typed thank you. So she said thank you so much. So. All right, we'll wait a few minutes. If you need to unmute and ask a question, do not hesitate to do that. We're kind of officially finished at this point, but I did want to give any of you a little bit of time if there's something you just need to say, hey, you know, and you're not going to sound stupid, trust me, because we don't all speak this lingo.
In dealing with Internal Revenue Service, there are no stupid, the only stupid question is the one you don't ask.
Yeah, I know. Just when you think you've got it, you're like, wait, what?
Hey, this is Kathy Eshbaugh. I'm the one that's asking all the questions. I'm
Great.
sorry.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I just wanted to use his ear while I had him. We have 3 children under 3 that we received in placement last September. Baby was 4 days old. We did not claim them on our taxes because our tax accountant said that we couldn't because we didn't have them long enough. But the parents evidently did claim them because they got the stimulus money for their children. So what do you suggest, Fred, that we do from this point on?
I would make a copy of your 2020 tax return, both pages, and like that, put in the children's names, birthday, social security number. For relationship, it's foster. Check the box in column 4. Rev Proc on the top and the bottom. Sign it on the back. Send it along with your placement letter. Highlighting on the placement letter the names, social security numbers, dates of birth. Send it on to Kansas City.
So you don't foresee a problem since the parents claimed the children?
The parents claim the children, but the point is you have custody.
Yes, and we had them since September.
The parents claimed them because they had custody for more than half the year.
Right.
But they don't have custody after September. You do.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I'm not doing something wrong. I don't want the IRS knocking on my door.
Listen. That is why you put Rev Proc on there. That's why you send along the placement letter. That supports your position.
Okay. Okay. Well, you've been such an amazing help. We have tried so hard to get information on this, and our tax preparer is actually in Ohio from where we're originally from. She said, I have no idea. I have no idea. And the IRS has not put anything on a portal. So I appreciate you so much. You've been such a drastic help for our family.
Once again, if when you get down to this and get the paperwork, you're uncertain of yourself or you're uneasy, get the information to me. I'll do it for you.
Okay. I thank you so much.
Okay, Jennifer all day asked if the kid's social security number isn't on the placement letter, should we send a copy of the social security card?
If it's on, if you don't have, if it's not on the placement letter, and it usually is, make copies of the cards and send it along.
Okay, all right. I hope that answers your question, Jennifer. That's a great question. I'm so glad she asked that. And anybody else unmute if you need to ask something specific. We're happy to let you chime in. Okay. I don't want to rush anybody off. I think everybody's just trying to listen to make sure they haven't, they probably are like me. They don't know what questions to ask because they don't know what they don't know until they get in it.
When you get the paperwork in front of you, if you're uncertain,
Yeah.
get the information to Della and I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing is if you're like me, when you get into these things, you don't even know what you don't know. And so that's what's so great, Fred, is that if you get in the middle of it, you get stuck, just let us know. Mary said, thank you, Fred. This is great info. Tiffany said, thank you. So thank you, Fred. We really appreciate you.
I had a best interest. I've got a family that took custody in April of 3 children under 6. They need the money.
It's a big job. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to log off and we will send you this information. And thank you again, Fred.
You're more than welcome.
All right, bye.